Amateur astronomers see Comet ISON approaching the Sun. Presented by Science at NASA. On Thanksgiving Day 2013, Comet ISON will have a close encounter with the Sun. Astronomer Carrie Liss, the head of NASA's Comet ISON observing campaign, hopes that every telescope on Earth will be trained on the comet in October and November. If the recent behavior of amateur astronomers is any indication, he may get his wish. As September comes to an end, Comet ISON is still far from Earth and relatively faint. Nevertheless, backyard astronomers are taking pictures of the approaching comet like Hollywood paparazzi. The comet is approaching Mars in the pre-dawn sky, explains Liss. It is invisible to the naked eye, but within reach of backyard telescopes. I photographed Comet ISON on September 15th using my 4-inch refractor, says astrophotographer Pete Lawrence of Chelsea in the United Kingdom. The comet's tail is nicely on view even through this relatively small instrument. In Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, astronomer Efrain Morales Rivera saw the comet rising above the canopy of the rainforest just minutes before sunrise. I used a 12-inch telescope, he says. In mid-September, the approaching comet was glowing like a star of 14th magnitude. That's dimmer than some forecasters expected. Certainly, we would love it to be a couple of magnitudes brighter right now, says researcher Carl Badams of the Naval Research Lab in Washington, D.C. But it's doing just fine. I'd say it's still on course to become a very eye-catching object. Badams is especially optimistic about NASA's twin stereo probes and the NASA ESA Solar and Heliospheric Observatory. Those 3 spacecraft are equipped with coronagraphs, devices that cover the blinding disk of the Sun to produce an artificial eclipse. The coronagraphs will be able to see Comet ISON at its brightest when it is making its closest approach to the Sun on Thanksgiving. If Comet ISON survives its brush with solar fire, skywatchers on Earth might get an eyeful as well. Based on the latest images, internationally known comet expert John Bortle says ISON appears likely to survive the inbound leg of its journey all the way to the Sun. It will probably brighten more slowly than all the early hype led the public to believe. Nevertheless, Comet ISON should very briefly become exceptionally bright, at least rivaling the planet Venus in the hours preceding its closest approach to the Sun. After Thanksgiving, Comet ISON will emerge from the Sun's glare well-positioned for observers in the northern hemisphere. The comet's tail will likely be visible to the naked eye in both the morning and evening sky throughout December of 2013. The last comet that did this sort of thing was Comet Lovejoy, which put on a grand show after it brushed the Sun in 2011. People in the southern hemisphere still remember the comet's tail stretching halfway across the night sky. Judging from the brightness of Comet ISON, Matthew Knight of the Lowell Observatory believes that ISON is likely a few times bigger than Lovejoy was. So I am optimistic that Comet ISON will become an impressive sun grazer. Because this is Comet ISON's first visit to the inner solar system, no one can say for sure what will happen. Comets are unpredictable, capable of fizzling at the last minute even after months of promising activity. Badams, who has been burned before by fickle comets, cautions that at no point in the next couple of months are we going to know if Comet ISON will survive or not until we actually observe it with our own eyes. Observations from amateur astronomers are really valuable pieces of the puzzle for us, adds Badams. They help us to see how the comet is evolving. The NASA Comet ISON observing campaign aims to get as many eyes on ISON as possible. To learn how you can help, visit isoncampaign.org. More skywatching opportunities and information on objects around our solar system are available at science.nasa.gov.
Today I wanted to go through what I saw through the orbital diagrams of Comet ISON, a similarity that was between Ed Dame's hand-drawn sketch of the kill shot that did it in a remote viewing session. And if you believe in the electric universe, there's no way you can discount that comets do electrically affect the sun in plasma discharge. And you'll always notice where the comet goes, the CME follows. The kill shot Ed Dames refers to is a really incredibly large supernova mass ejection that takes down the electrical grid on the planet, or at least parts of it on our Earth. So you might ask yourself, will there be an advanced warning? And the answer is yes, but we need to look back in history to ancient cosmology when we do have stories of dragons in the sky. The dragons are nothing more than plasma discharges from planet to planet, or either comet to planet, or something from the sun to the planet to the comet, like we're about to witness and we've seen happen with Mars in the first week of October and the last couple of days of September. Taking a look at the orbital diagram of ISON as it passed directly over the North Pole of Mars around 7 million miles above the North Pole. As you can see what Mars looked like before the electrical event. As you can clearly see, as the Birkeland currents activated from the Sun out 146 million miles to the North Pole of Mars, in conjunction with the electric comet, the electrical interaction across space are termed Birkeland currents, and obviously they did activate at this time when the magnetic north conjuncted with the comet itself and something activated from the Sun, and indeed those currents did start flowing. There's a lot of different pictures. Nothing from NASA, nothing from the European Space Agency, nothing from any governments. All these pictures that you're going to find about the coma forming and the electrical interaction are off different Earth-based telescopes, people's cameras, sightings, and people just like you and me who actually went outside, saw this event, and took photos. As we can see, I'm just going to let them run here. There's quite a few. I like the New Mexico telescope there. People trying to work with Photoshop to differentiate the different tones to show the coma. These three images come from the Curiosity rover, unprocessed images, but look at the top there. It looks as if the coma from the comet itself is some sort of line of light across. Obviously that's the interaction electrically that they're catching on film, as well as some sort of cloud bank has formed on the planet. Was there an evaporation of some of the water and carbon dioxide on the planet because of the interaction in the plasma state that actually released that into the gaseous state and now recondensed into clouds? Notice the spike in energy density from the Sun discharging during the same exact days that the comet was over the North Pole of Mars. Another electrical discharge phenomenon was on Jupiter's moon Io. It was the largest eruption that astronomers had witnessed, and it was about the same distance from the Sun to Mars as the comet was to Jupiter when the eruption happened. ISON was on the way to Mars when this happened on August 15th. Coincidental or not? No, I think it's an electrical interaction between all the bodies and ISON itself. Now back to the kill shot. Where do we have some warning? And I believe we will. I believe we're going to see something in the heavens that has not been witnessed for about 4,000 years. If we take a look at their ancient cosmology, there's a lot of representations of stars, dragons, things that connect. Plasma discharge is representative of mythical beings that could be no other way explained 4,000 years ago before we have the technology that we have currently. Taking a look at the orbital diagram, you can see how the comet is on the outside of Mercury, directly facing the Sun, and Mercury is kind of a sandwich between those two electrical forces there in itself. If you notice, the graph shows the density is far higher with Mercury than it was with Mars, especially with the inner core being made so much of iron and nickel, and the percentage of the core itself is far higher than it was with Mars, so you would expect there to be a much greater electrical interaction with Mercury, especially in that specific spot it's in. In order to see this precursor event, you have to be up around 5 or 5:30 in the morning looking toward the east directly as Mercury is rising. What I believe we're going to see is a radial discharge and some sort of plasma discharge streamers traveling between the Sun, Mercury, and the comet itself. Now, as you notice here, again, mythologically, when we come through, the dragon is represented, and I think that is the energy stream between the two. When it gets out of control and it's incredibly heavy, you start to get what looks like the legs coming off there as they discharge out, almost like lightning would do on our planet. This interaction with Mercury will give us a good idea of what will be happening with the effect on Earth, because the distance is similar. It's about 29 million miles from Mercury. If you see any effects, and what I believe is going to be comet ISON connecting with Mercury and connecting with the Sun below the horizon. It'll be during the daytime as well as it comes over during the sunrise, whatever the interaction might be between the planet and the comet itself connected by the Sun. We're going to experience something similar. The distance isn't exactly that far away. Although Mercury is closer to ISON, 29 million miles compared to 42 million miles, in space, that's very little distance between the two. So you can get a rough idea about the discharges that we'll experience here on Earth, as well as the disruption of the electrical grid and the satellites. It's a good way in advance to see what's coming, and that might explain the government shutdown and why they're keeping everybody out of the national parks, because, as you know, a lot of people plan if it gets bad to head into nature. What's the best way to keep them out? Close it so they can't get there when something does happen. On the last image I've included here, you can see this was the maximum discharge during the comet experience over the Mars North Pole. Now, if we take that 7 million miles and we divide that by 42 million, that's 7. So if we decrease the action and activity by 7 times, or even if it's exponential and we decrease that by 49 times, and still put those same parameters on the Earth and our electrical grid and electrical system, what effect would that have? And that's truly the question you need to ask, especially if there is some interaction between comet ISON and our own electrical field on the Earth. Faraday cage might be the answer, actually. Okay, to wrap things up here, keep your eyes pointed toward the eastern horizon between, let's say, November 12th and November 18th. What you see up there happening is going to be reflective of what will come by here another month later onto our little blue planet. Good luck.
There's a time that's surely coming, maybe evening, night, or morning, when the Lord shall leave his home in heaven fair. Some will carelessly be sleeping, to awake with awful weeping, while the faithful ones are meeting in the air. Oh, the Lord is a-coming by and by. coming in the twinkling of an eye. Better